all of Michigan except for Ann Arbor, Detroit. So he's a great leader. We're glad that he came over today to give us a speech. So now with the introduction. Our next speaker is a professional speaker and trainer. He's a graduate of the National Speakers Association, Michigan chapter, ProTrack program in 2004. He's provided training for the Lansing State Journal's Speakers Bureau, Red Cross Blood Donor Services Division, Michigan Department of Community Health's annual conference with the Michigan Association for Local Public Health, and also for the Lansing School District Administrators. And as he said earlier, he joined Yawn Patrol Toastmasters in 1977. They meet on the north side of town. And he stays in Toastmasters until he learns how to do it right. So welcome with me for a speech titled How to Write a Speech, ATM Silver, Mike Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, my fellow Toastmasters and speech crafters. How to write a speech. I love this topic. It reminds me of a speech that I didn't hear, but my father told me about it. Back when he was alive, and he was an engineer at Oldsmobile. And another engineer was delivering a speech from a lectern like this. And in the audience was not just the engineers at Oldsmobile, it was also the general manager of Oldsmobile. And partway through the speech, the general manager stood up and said, "Excuse me, are you reading this speech?" And the engineer said, "Yes, sir, I am." The general manager stormed up to the lectern, grabbed the sheets, and stormed out of the room saying over his shoulder, "I didn't take a speed reading course so you could waste my time." And he left the room. Now, I think all of us would agree that the general manager was rude. I would also suggest to you that he was right. You see, the average college graduate, and engineers are college graduates, the average college graduate reads at 300 words a minute. But you and I can't talk faster than 150 words a minute. So when you think about it, if we read our speeches, we're wasting the audience's time. We could photocopy it and give it to them. They can read it in half the time it takes us to deliver it. So my first piece of advice, this is going to strike you as strange, is don't write your speech. Don't write your speech. You say, well, what am I going to do? Outline it. This, by the way, if my briefcase weren't sitting in my kitchen as I left in a hurry to get to the funeral, I had this on a little 3x5 index card and I photocopied it for each of you. But you don't get that, so I put it on the board here. This is the 4-point outline of my speech. And sometimes you have to do things on the fly. Manesh told me that there would be a second part of the speech where I'd give tips for 3 to 5 minutes on body language and vocal variety. I look at the agenda and it says 3 to 5 minutes of Q&A, question and answers. So one of the things you learn in Toastmasters is how to edit on the fly. This is now out of the speech. Good speeches are not a matter of what you put in, it's what you cut out to get to the point. Okay, so there's the outline. You outline the speech, and that's really all you need for a 10-minute presentation is those 4 bullet points. Notice there's not a single complete sentence up there. These are bullet points. These are not sentences. The first one simply says writing, which leads to an export of a finished product that you read it. You will be, if you write the speech word for word, you will be tempted to do 2 things, both of which are bad, frankly. One is to read the speech. And you've heard what can happen when you read a speech. At least once at Oldsmobile it happened. Or you would be tempted to memorize it and recite it. And if you recite it from memory, it will slightly sound like you are reciting it from memory, not delivering it, not connecting with your audience, not informing them, not inspiring them, not leading them, which is what you intended to do with the presentation, wasn't it? So don't write the speech. Start with an outline. All you need for a 3 to 5 minute speech, all you would need is maybe 2 bullet points, 3 at the most. This is a 10-minute presentation, but that includes question and answer. So I did 4 bullet points. Normally for a 5 to 7 minute speech, 3 would be all that you would need, and they are bullet points. Then it's time to start rehearsing, and if you can, record the speech as you rehearse it. It will sound, by the way, recorded on video if you have that access to that kind of equipment. It will look and sound terrible to you the first time you look at it. Oh my gosh, I can't give this speech. I'm terrible at it. Everybody's terrible the first time they deliver a speech. So record it, play it back, learn from that recording, and do it again. And most important of all, time the rehearsal. If you are assigned, this is why it's not just a picky thing in Toastmasters. In real life, when you're addressing a meeting, usually someone says, don't they, we just need a quick couple minutes update on that project you're doing, or we've got you slotted in for 10 minutes on the agenda. If you're slotted for 10 minutes on the agenda, don't go 20. They won't like you. Doesn't matter how good a speaker you are, they won't like you. And the meeting planner will hate you. Now, if that's good for your career, have at it. So rehearse and time the rehearsal. If it goes too long, cut something out. Remember, good speeches are not so much a matter of what you put in, it's what you cut out that really matters. We're now, I know that's a frightening prospect to you, not writing the speech, but we've reached the point now where we have questions and answers in this presentation. I'd be happy to field any questions that you have. Gretchen?
What about if you want to give a quote? Should you have that just to have the essence of the quote?
You could have that on a 3x5 index card. I think the more you work with what you need on 3x5 index cards, and the more you rehearse, when you give the speech, you won't use it. You'll leave it in your pocket, which is why you should put it in your pocket. And then you don't take it out, usually, when you deliver the speech. But you can have the quote on a 3x5 index card, just in case you can't remember it. Greg?
Do you have a 3x5 index card on you right now?
I do not. It is along with my manual. My evaluator asked me if I brought a manual. Yes, this is a manual speech. It's project number 9 in the Competent Communicator Manual. And when I left for the funeral, I left the valise on the kitchen counter. Inside that is a 3x5 index cards and all the photocopies of the 3x5 index card so that you could see without me having to put it on the board. So yes, I do. But if you rehearse enough, you don't need your 3x5 index card when you actually deliver the speech. I know you don't believe it's going to happen that way, but trust me, it will. Yes, Miriam.
How do you know what to include and exclude? Do you start with a topic? Do you start with a sentence? Do you start with what do you do?
Excellent question. That's different for different speakers. In my case, for instance, for this presentation, I was to some extent assigned a topic, to deal on. When you're doing a project in Toastmasters, typically you're assigned a form, but not content. I just think of things that would fit that. For instance, if the project is vocal variety, I would want to have multiple voices in stories in that speech, because multiple voices gives you a chance for vocal variety. You have deep voice speakers, and you have high-pitched speakers, you have fast speakers, and slow, deliberate speakers. So it gives you an opportunity for vocal variety. If it's a project, Your Body Speaks, which is more of gestures, you could give a talk on how referees give signals at football games. What's offsides, what's pass interference. You have to do gestures then. That's how you can fit it. Anything else? I thank you for your attention.
I got one here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Manesh.
So maybe 1 or 2 pointers to our participants about organize your speech. That's the next speech they will be delivering.
Okay. But this is how I'd organize it. I would outline it first, rehearse it, and time the rehearsal. It's really a simple 3-step process. I know it's a frightening process if you haven't done it before. Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna have real notes up there. I'm gonna have bullet points, and not very many of those. But you can do this. And if you do it that way, you will connect with the audience. You'll notice it within about 3 speeches that you're having a better effect on your audience if you don't write your speech. Mr. Toastmaster.